Everybody, we are here with writer-director Tom Brown and producer Amanda Miller. They have just an amazing animated short that is screening at Sundance this year called Christopher at Sea. Amanda, Tom, how are you?
So good.
I just arrived back in the city from Sundance, so I'm very tired but very happy.
Are you
What city?
New York.
Well, I suppose what other city is there really?
Right.
But Tom, can you tell me about Christopher at Sea?
Sure. Christopher at Sea is a queer operatic thriller set on board a cargo ship in the Atlantic Ocean, and it follows Christopher's journey through solitude into obsession, fantasy, and despair.
Well, that's a beautiful encapsulation. Amanda, how did you and Tom meet, and what made you say yes to this particular project?
Tom and I were both working and still have a relationship at a production company called PSYOP. And he had approached me wanting to do some development for this film. And part of the development was to take a cargo ship tour from the UK back to New York. Sorry.
And
okay, sorry. And so he said, "Hey, do you think that there's any way that we could get PSYOP to help us fund this trip?" And I said, "Let me ask." And so we did. And so that was back in 2017. And then after that, we had a pitch deck that we put together and went to the Annecy Film Festival in France with our French co-production partners and got money to start production. Wow. And that was 6 years ago.
And you used cargo ships for all transatlantic transport,
right? We did. It was a very slow moving production.
I'm a lunatic.
Okay, so I think what blew me away the most about this movie was what I learned about cargo ships.
Right.
And can you really arrange that, and how does that even work?
Sure. There are two companies. There's one in the UK and one in Australia. And they will find passage for you on a cargo ship. And you can choose kind of like the route that you want to go. And yeah, it's a very strange experience, but actually there's a lot of YouTube videos about other strange people who have decided to do the same trip. But they have whole deck of the ship is just for passengers.
That's insane. Okay, so to set it up for our viewing audience here, basically a guy, books a room on a cargo ship, and it's surprisingly nice. I mean, is that an accurate depiction in the film?
Yeah, I mean, I used the trip. I was on the boat for 21 days, so I used the trip to gather a lot of references and think about sort of camera angles and stuff for the story. But yeah, it's like a floating old people's home is how I describe it. So quite comfortable, but quite cheap as well.
And not very aesthetically pleasing, but
no.
But also like because when the first 3 days of the trip, he still had Wi-Fi and cell signal. 3 days, I think. And so we would chat. Oh, was it that much? Okay. Because we would chat, and he was starting, like, even when he still had contact with dry land, he was starting to get a little crazy around the eyes. And then we were like, oh God, here we go. He's going to be completely cut off from the rest of the world for 11 days. And he went dark. And then when he landed, he was a different man.
Oh my God. How so? Tell me.
Well, he had these weird things that he would do to kind of like mark the passage of time.
Yeah.
Like you would dole out your socks to yourself was one story I remember. You had exactly the right amount of socks. And I think cigarettes.
No, granola bars. I had the right number of
granola bars.
But the thing was that because it was the international language, the language of the ship was English, but it was a French ship, so all of the engineers and the officers were French, and then all of the rest of the crew were from the Philippines. So when they gave orders, it was in English, but the rest of the time, the French obviously were just speaking French. And so no one told me that we were going to be on the ship for an extra day because of this storm we were going around. And so I'd used up all my socks and my granola bars, and I was ready to get off the ship.
Oh, heavens.
And there was one extra day.
Without socks and granola bars.
Right.
So I honestly was so shocked at how picturesque and romantic you were able to make a cargo ship setting look. In particular, there was one shot that it's just a super quick shot, but it's kind of a long shot down a passageway with the shifting of the the cargo and chains and stuff. And I was like, this is so beautiful. I don't know why.
I mean, that was one of the things that really drew me to set the film there, because that juxtaposition between industrial design on one hand and then the beauty of nature and the sea and stuff. It was just such a compelling visual that I became obsessed with cargo ships.
Clearly. So how did you guys land on the particular animation style and look?
So the characters in particular are kind of it's all based on my illustration style.
Okay.
So we wanted to, even though we used an amazing team of lots of artists, I wanted it to look like I'd done it all. So we were kind of building on my illustration style, and I really wanted it to be quite textural and painterly, and so we started there, and then
excellent.
It evolved out of it. Yeah.
And Amanda, how did you match the Tom's style with the particular animators you chose?
Everybody has to do a test before they're brought onto the crew, and so you select the right crew based on their skill. And then also, there's so many different phases to it, from your layout to your in-betweens and your color and your cleanup. And then we had an incredible compositing team that came in at the end and really finessed it. So even if you have somebody that isn't exactly spot on, because it's going through so many layers and so many iterations, at the end, everything becomes really cohesive. It was a long production with a lot of artists, which you'll see in the end credits.
Oh yeah.
There's a zillion names. Yeah.
It's like getting a magnifying glass. So what is it that attracts so many men to see?
That is a very good question that Herman Miller poses in Moby Dick.
And now I pose it to you.
And now you pose it to me. I think there's something about the solitude of being at sea, and the vulnerability of being sort of trapped on this little floating box in the middle of the ocean, and the endless expanse of the horizon, and the feeling that you can go anywhere. It's a very interesting space to exist.
Excellent. Well, okay, so I want to know what type of communal showers were you taking at Sundance? In your notes, I'm like, huh? That goes down? Why didn't I know about that? So
there's a hostel near the library in Park City that I stayed at my first trip to Sundance in 2007, and it's kind of like this huge, it was so scary, this huge room that had 15 bunk beds in, and then at the end of the room there was an open doorway into the toilets and the shower area. And one day I walked in there to take a shower, and there was just, in the first cubicle right as you walk in, there was a guy, very hot, very hairy, showering with the curtain just completely open.
Oh, of course.
This is back when I was 21 and very repressed. I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on here? And I ran to the furthest away cubicle, and there was that same mirror on the opposite wall, opposite the showers. So I could kind of see him, but I definitely shut that curtain straight away. I was terrified. But while I was in the shower, his soap suds were coming down into my cubicle and down into the drain.
Hence the scene in the movie.
Yeah, so it was like the hottest thing that had ever happened to my little repressed 21-year-old self.
I loved how unabashedly queer the film was. It was just, you know, was that a definite choice that the both of you were like, no, we're just completely going for it?
Well, I kind of, after Moonlight came out and Call Me by Your Name, I was sort of disappointed in kind of like mainstream queer cinema that is shied away so much from homoerotic kind of stuff, like panning to a tree. I wanted to see them, do some disgusting stuff like dipping their toe into someone's piss. So I really wanted it to, live up to the canon of queer cinema in that way. And I was very surprised actually that Amanda and my producers and later the CNC and all of the funders didn't have a problem with that scene and didn't try and remove it. So
yeah, I thought it was pretty brave.
Yeah.
It's my favorite scene. And it's also my favorite thing to do, to sit in the back of the theater and watch other people watch that.
And why is that?
It's the breadth of reactions is vast. Some people are horrified, some people are embarrassed and they laugh, some people are just kind of like, wooden, and it's it's scandalous, it's shocking, and watching people be shocked is amazing by something,
yeah, and it's fun to see a genuine reaction for once.
Yeah.
So well,
how will the audience react when you dip them in underwater in pee? I don't know.
There's only one way to find out. Well, what's next for you guys?
Well, I'm developing a feature-length sequel to Christopher at Sea, which what happens when the ship gets to shore. Don't you want to know?
I do.
So,
especially with the cigarettes and
right.
Yes. Excellent.
So Christopher at Sea is about him sort of discovering his truth, and then the sequel will be about him living it, and in very much in the same sort of way the personal kind of autobiographical stories feeding the story. It's kind of a collection of my 11 years of living in New York and finding who I am, but Christopher sort of finds his voice and his tribe in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Amanda, are you on that project as well, I assume?
Well, we've talked a little bit about it. The relationship that I've had with Tom is he really is an auteur, and he knows what he wants. And I was telling him earlier, like every time we get on another press call, I find out another nugget of information that he's been keeping from me for the last 10 years. So myself and the other producers, we strive to support him more than like shape the vision of the film, because it really is his jam.
Yeah.
And so that, at this point consists of really actually talking about technical approach and what would be interesting to do for this film, so that, it took us 7 years to do a 20-minute film. So we certainly don't want to take 21 years to make an 80-minute film.
No.
So, just talking about where, how we can shape the production, the technology that would be available to us, how to evolve the look, which is beautiful. But if you change your technology, you're going to change your look, and how to get money for it. So that Tom doesn't have to eat top ramen.
Now, don't throw shade on top ramen, but real ramen's nice too. So, honestly though, I didn't want the short to end. I just felt like I kind of went away for a minute, and a lovely escape, It was very painterly, very romantic, shocking, and wonderful. And yeah. And now I want to book a room on a cargo ship. So thank you.
Bring lots of granola bars.
And socks.
And socks.
Well, cargoshipvoyages.co.uk.
No. Oh, okay. Now I'm gonna really look it up. But again, for anybody still at the festival, the Christopher at Sea is screening one more time Friday on January 27th, and you should definitely check it out. It's certainly an interesting animated short, wonderful film. And Amanda, Tom, best of luck with this release. And I really want to see a feature because it was great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Norman.
Right. You guys take care.
Pleasure chatting with you.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.